bring you this now. I mean, despite tough financial times, South Africans are still willing to give to those in need. And this is according to a recent study conducted by the Charity AIDS Foundation South Africa. And one of the organizations best known for lending a helping hand here at home as well as abroad is Gift of the Givers. Its CEO, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, joins me now to have this discussion. And Doc, thank you so much for your time this morning. I think this is quite a heartwarming conversation, especially after we've just played that bite of a man known also for his charitable, efforts, the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu. We also know that even during financial times such as a pandemic, according to the study, people are still charitable.
Yes, good morning, Chapello. People like South Africans generally are very charitable people. And when the times are the most difficult, you can count on them to come to the fore. This discussion we've had, not with you, but generally the discussion was raised pre-COVID in March 2020. And people said it's going to be a tough time with COVID. And when lockdown came and jobs were lost, people say it's going to be a very tough time for charitable organizations. And we said at that time, no, it's not. That's not going to be the case for us. And unfortunately, yes, the more we respond, it means the more the crisis they are. That's the sad part about what we do. But our support has been incredible from South Africans, from ordinary people, and even to the credit of the corporates. I think they've never responded like this in the history before.
Yeah.
The support from the corporates has been phenomenal. And even from professional people in different companies, ordinary people, school children, people in old age homes, pensioners, everyone said, look, we haven't got, a lot of them will phone and say, we don't have much, we want to do something, we want to play our part. And that's the thing that drives South Africans. Everyone wants to play their part. It doesn't matter how much they give, but collectively, it makes a huge difference.
Right. I think when people think of, charity, it might be an intimidating word that, it means big budgets in their millions. But I have to say, I've seen South Africans literally offering a warm plate to their next door neighbor. Someone knowing a group of perhaps young people on the streets who need a warm coffee, a hot coffee, or even a warm meal, gathering friends in their small group, being charitable. So we've seen those acts even in small numbers, intimate groupings, right, Doc, where charity doesn't mean millions of budgets, but also where you are seeing a need, identifying it, and filling in that gap.
Most certainly, you've hit it on the head. Even a smile is charity.
Yeah.
Charity to me is something that makes a difference to somebody's life. Sometimes, and let's take counseling, for example. People will be having a problem for 15 or 20 years, too scared to raise the issue, the subject. And one day they get the confidence and they speak. We run our own counseling service too, but it may be even outside the counseling service. Somebody calls and speaks, and within 5 minutes of a good word, some encouragement, people realize, I've been carrying this burden for 15 years and it took 5 minutes to solve. But that 5 minutes has changed the perspective of that person's life, motivated it, empowered that person. That person becomes a productive human being, because the worst kind of possible problem to have is emotional and psychological stress, and that holds you down completely, like the stress that has come through COVID itself. The fear, the anxiety has just slowed people down completely. So the good word and supporting a person is a huge form of charity. Because once the mind and the soul is working well, the rest of the body will function, irrespective of the challenges that we have around us.
Absolutely. For those who are watching this conversation also thinking, how do I get charitable? Where do I contribute? Because, money is quite a sensitive, subject. Obviously, we're in financial difficulties at this time during the COVID. You want to make sure that when you give to an organization, Doc, it goes to the right hands. It does meet the needs that it's promised to do. So if I'm looking for a charity organization, how can I affiliate myself with a charity organization that is ethical?
If you want to make the selection, once you look at, because the person who wants to choose an organization will probably see the name somewhere or heard about it or did, or heard from a friend. They need to investigate the charity itself. Go and look for subs on social media to see the kind of thing the charity has been doing, what the people have said about it, get information from those who mentioned the charity. So you need to do your research. Whether the organization is small, middle, or big, you need to do your research. That's one of the aspects. But secondly, right now, in the crisis times, the best charity you can do is to your own family, and friends and neighbors. Because a lot of people will not speak. They will not say they're in hard times, they're in difficult times. You may hear via the grapevine. And the best thing you can do is to find out, it may be even your brother or your sister.
Yeah.
It may be the neighbor next door. It may be somebody down the street. You don't have to go long distances to do things. So let's start with those close to you. It may be the parent or the child of your school or friend of your child's friend at school. It's maybe somebody in that category. And that's, if you do that quietly in a very dignified way, that's the best charity you can do, because you're doing it directly with your own hand to people you come to know about. And that brings so much. It brings social cohesion, it brings goodness, it brings spirituality, it helps the person. When you want to do more than that and you got surplus, then okay, you can look at the names at the system I told you, see who the charities are. In addition to that, a lot of institutions have gone to great difficulty now. Orphanages, old age homes, homes for the physically and mentally challenged. Some of those institutions have gone to great difficulty. So if we go and and find those institutions, you would find that people have been hungry in those institutions for quite some time. They've been having difficulty before COVID. COVID came and caused more desperation because they needed funding for PPEs and sanitizer, additional costs which they don't have for. And then the companies that were supporting them sort of collapsed. So there was no money for food. And I'm telling you all these things because it's what we've experienced. I'm giving you examples of what we've been experiencing for the last 2 years, how people have collapsed. And then, of course, you have the soup kitchens because schools closed. There's no feeding scheme at school. And those children come in queues, and the queue gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually the parents come with the kids, those kids in the queue. So we have to look around and research our own societies first. It's less costly to have those in your own vicinity than to go somewhere further out. And if we all South Africans do that in our own vicinity, we'll hold each other's hand upwards.
Yeah. Doc, during this festive period, what would you say has been the one need that the gift or the givers has seen much more intensity in, a much bigger need for, particularly during this festive season?
It's the same every year. It's food.
Yeah.
Food is a big need because, again, the names I mentioned, institutions, they're afraid that their funds run low in that period of time. And some would ask for, some toys to give kids. But for the last 2 years since COVID, nobody's asking for anything else. They're not saying, give me clothes, don't give me toys, give me party packs, although we still do that. But the predominant requirement, or basically the only requirement, is food. People have lost their jobs. They're coming home from different provinces, for example, to the Eastern Cape.
Right.
Now they don't have funding to bring home to their families. It's difficult. So food, we will roll out 5,000 food parcels, just for a few days before Christmas to different institutions. But we've rolled out almost 600,000 food parcels over the last 1.5 years because of the hunger and hundreds of soup kitchens that we supported. Well,
of course, I appreciate you speaking to us and appreciate the work that you continue to do, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman of Gift of the Givers, talking us about charity work, especially the need that they have had to meet mostly during this period.